and welcome back to Don't Open That Door. Come along with our triumvirate of terror as we descend into darkness, hurtle into horror, and plunge into peril. If you've made it through this year of 2024, you're in the right place. And lads, we are here today for a very special episode. Dan, what are we doing today?
This episode is very, very special. I think it's the first ever DOTD end of year award show.
You damn right. And this is going to be something where we go through, we've got a bunch of different awards categories where we're going to give our favorites of the year. But to start off with, I am Justin, one of three very humble hosts here on DOTD.
I'm Nico, and I'm dressed up for this podcast recording more formally than I do for work.
And I'm Dan, one of three very unhumble hosts on this podcast.
Oh, true.
And listeners of the pod will know how we got to kick this one off. Dan, take it away.
So our favorite visual award, we always have a great sound effect from our guy, Justin, over here. So we're going to give it a sound effect to each award that we do. Each of us will give us, each host will give, each presenter of the award will give their own sound. So for favorite visuals, the award sound is that is our visual award.
Correct. And I should have specified this. These apply to reviews that dropped in this calendar year. So not necessarily movies that came out in 2024, but movies we reviewed in 2024.
Right. So my favorite visuals of this year, this is a tough one for me, actually. There were a number of contenders.
Yeah.
But I'm going to put forth Life, that space movie. I thought it was pretty cool. I remember the opening, couple minutes sequence of them going through the spaceship. I liked the creature design as it was sort of evolving and becoming more of a threat and a living organism. And I think I've said this on the podcast before, but I'm a slut for space. So space stuff is just really cool to me. So Life gets the favorite visual for Dan.
Mm-hmm.
I'll go ahead and interject here. I was gonna pick Life. Funny that you say that for all those reasons, but I am gonna be giving my favorite visuals award to Prometheus. Fans of the pod will know how near and dear the Alien series is to my heart. I think I've said multiple times that Alien is my favorite movie period of all time. I'm pretty sure. I just love everything about how this movie looks, from the fantastic landscapes and drone shots we get to the design of this sort of proto-xenomorph.
Well, I'm going to go ahead and slide in here last. And dear listener, you know it would not be a DOTD episode, a real DOTD episode, if Nico and I didn't have beef straight off the bat.
Wow.
How do you have beef? How?
Wait, what conflict is happening here, bro?
Because Nico has already teefed out one of mine because,
Prometheus.
Much like Nico, I also nominate Prometheus for my personal favorite
Wow,
visuals.
not what I expected you to say.
And the reason why is exactly like Nico said. This movie had a lot of variety to it. You had the landscape shots that are awesome, but then you get the really claustrophobic shots. There's dark shots, there's bright shots. I love the way the creatures in the movie look, the characters. Everything is just chef's kiss. And we even said it in the episode, how beautiful it was. So I definitely think Prometheus is it for me.
Also, the whole cast is hot.
That too. So while all three of us were not Prometheus, we were all space movies, though.
Yeah.
So that wraps up our favorite visual award. And for the next award, I'm going to pass the baton over to Justin.
That's right. The next section is going to be audio. So that applies to that soundtrack that replays over and over again in your ears. Dialogue's also in this too. So if you like the way someone speaks or doesn't, who knows? This is it. And I think we got to kick things off right. So the sound for audio is actually going to be because that to me is acceptable.
We got some real strong frontliners here so far. I got a lot to live up to.
And my personal favorite audio, and I'm already going for an oddball one here, guys.
Good.
It's going to be Dagon, the game.
Ooh, good shout.
This was one where obviously audio is important to every movie because audio sets the scene and does so much. But I'm going to have to say that this game relied so heavily on the narration being correct and precise, and it is. It sets the scene perfectly, and there's even, little sound effects as well in there. So for me, Dagon the game ran away with it for me this year. Nico, how about you though?
This was a tough one, y'all. I think probably the hardest one, if I'm honest. Y'all know how much I love and talk about sound and how much of an important part of the movies it is. So I'm going to give my award for favorite audio to Pearl. I love the presentation of this movie as almost cartoonish and fairy tale-esque, and combining that with what a lot of people would call modern scream queen performance from Mia Goth. I think it just barely edged out some of the other strong contenders here this year.
Big edge.
Yeah, it did.
Dan, you got to slide in with your favorite audio though. You are the audio guy.
So much like the last award, I'm going to have to piggyback off of Justin's, actually.
Oh.
And I'm going to say Dagon. I actually really liked it, much the same reasons Justin had said. But I thought the voice acting was incredible, and the soundtrack, just both of them combined, really fit the mood of what I wanted out of a Lovecraft retelling. And I just thought it was really, really good. So I'm going to steal it, but Dagon, the game.
Indeed. And I feel like I should have said this up front, but dear listener, we don't know any of the other people's choices here. So these reactions are legit because
what's happening here is we are all collectively going, oh, fuck, I forgot about that.
This one I actually had it written down. But later I might go, oh, fuck. Yeah.
Well, fair is fair. But now I got to pass it off to Nico. Take it away.
So, my award that I am about to bestow. We all follow the certain perspective of important people in a movie. You might think of them as a protagonist, maybe even a hero. So, my award category is, in fact, favorite protagonist / hero. The sound for favorite protagonist / hero is
That's a good one. Okay.
Thank you. So for me, this was another really difficult one. There were a few big contestants here that immediately stood out to me, but what ended up taking the cake for me is one that I think is probably going to take the cake for a lot of these, depending on how many I've already forgotten. But I am going to give the award to Tasia Voss from Possessor, played by Andrea Riseborough. I think her performance was subtle, surreal, conflicted, pain, sometimes a little too ecstatic at questionable things. There was so much of the spectrum of the human condition, I think, in this movie, and given the sort of duality of the movie's identity as a central concept, I just was absolutely blown away by Tasia Voss as a character.
She was a great character, and I didn't put her in the protagonist category, but there were definitely a couple of these awards that movie was up for. But for me, my favorite protagonist, like Nico, I think there are a handful of ones that were contenders for this, but this one far and away stole the show for me, is Nick Cage in Willy's Wonderland.
Yeah.
I loved his character.
Fuck.
He didn't say a single word except the pinball, not pinball. Was it pinball?
Yeah, it was pinball.
Yeah,
pinball.
The pinball scene was awesome. He would also just come in and fuck things up. Like, he was such a good protagonist without having a whole lot of protag material necessarily.
Yeah.
But it was very, very well done and very Nick Cage as well.
Yeah. I think for me, my favorite protagonist, and this is going to be real sad boy hours here. You knew we had to bring that in too.
Oh, I know what's coming.
My favorite protagonist is from the movie After Midnight, and it's Hank. Because if you listen to the episode, you know I relate to that movie way too much. And
Rory and Dance play softly in the distance.
And when I first saw it, I felt like I was Hank. And I love that Hank at least gets a happy ending. He gets his girl back, and he fights off the alien. What more could you want? He's my favorite protagonist.
And that is our wrap up of our leading roles. We're going to take it over to Dan now. What do we got in store?
So, in some ways, Justin and Nico, many ways actually, are opposites. However, this time, I am going to take that, and much like Nico presented the award for our favorite protagonist, I am going to present the award for our favorite antagonist or villain. Every good film, every good horror needs a good villain, whether it be a vampire, a werewolf, a bear, oh my, I don't know, or just thing, some sense of evil. So this award sound will be, whoa, oh.
Oh, well done.
Excellent.
Okay, very, very villainous, I guess. So my favorite antagonist or villain is a play on some tropes of yesteryear. That's a word.
It is now.
It is Jerry, the vampire from Fright Night.
Oh man,
I thought he did a really, really good job. Who is the actor? Was that Jeff? No. He reminds me of Jeff Goldblum sometimes.
It's not Jeff Goldblum. He would have killed it though.
Yeah. Chris Sarandon did a really, really good job of playing this vampire, of Jerry the vampire. I thought he did such a good job with his charisma, his swag, his just general portrayal of vampires and how they have historically been portrayed, but also adding a little bit of new flavor to it. Mm-hmm. I just thought he stole that whole movie. He did such a good job.
Yeah.
I will jump in here and mention that was a big contender for me as well, particularly in the moment when you said that, because I definitely forgot about that, but I am going to stick with what I originally wrote. My favorite villain, I like this villain because we truly see, I think, the largest progression of its abilities, lifespan, and the scale of the threat. For the entire movie, it is not only a curious entity, but it is also a dangerous entity in diverse ways. I am giving my award to Calvin from Life.
Okay, good shout.
I'm going to go ahead and attack this one now as well. I want to stretch the definition here of an antagonist. Normally it's a person, maybe a monster. This is going to be more of a concept. I'm going to give my personal favorite movie antagonist award to The Curse from Another. I was a really big fan of how this curse was implemented in the show. Listeners of the pod know I love me a good mystery. And I loved that curse was there to be solved, that there's rules. And I don't know, maybe I'm getting a little soft, but I like it when you can actually win against a curse. Because oftentimes when there is a curse, it's just, you're fucked.
Yep.
But no, this one, you can win. So that's what I'm going to take as my personal antagonist.
So that wraps it up for our favorite antagonists. And now for someone who knows more about the next award, Justin.
You're damn right. So I'm going to be presenting the award for biggest surprise in a movie. And you already know what the sound has to be. Wow. That's going to be...
Okay. Got some nice panning on that built in.
Yeah, yeah. Not as high pitch as I normally do. I try to switch it up a little bit.
Yeah.
But this one is, you're watching a movie and all of a sudden something just happens. You're like, what do you ask? Like you had no idea that was going to happen. Took you completely out of left field. And we had a bunch this year.
We did have a bunch.
Yeah.
But
We really fucking did.
For me, I had to go straight to the bathroom on this. It's coming out of the movie Glorious.
Oh, man. Wow. That is the only movie you could have picked to make that not bad.
And the biggest surprise in the movie for me this year was Wes being a serial killer in the movie Glorious. Because I had no idea that was coming down the pipeline. I thought he just had this unrequited love, and I was wrong. But Dan, what you got for the biggest surprise? Surprise me.
So my biggest surprise is in this film, characters are the antagonists are distributing masks.
Oh no.
And one character, inconsequential character, is digging around in the mask, and then all of a sudden a fucking laser shoots out. And she was dead. And then later, you find out that they stole Stonehenge and are making the evil things out of pieces of Stonehenge. For those of you who don't know, you would never guess, but this is from the movie Halloween 3. Yes, that's right. The same franchise as Michael Myers, even though he is thankfully absent in this movie. But lasers and Stonehenge.
Mine is not quite on the level of Halloween 3. I'm gonna give that to a different award later on. But my wildest moment was in a movie that we saw where itself was very, very, very wild, incredibly out of pocket, and one of the ones definitely that would be uncomfortable to watch with arguably 90% of other living human beings, unless you're like real tight. So my biggest surprise in a movie is when the protagonist of Wicked City fully fucking die, and they are just like literally defeated, obliterated, sent to some other fucking vampire dimension or whatever the hell, and then, quote, they get psychically reincarnated like in Frankenstein.
Yeah.
Which doesn't fucking happen in Frankenstein.
Oh, true. True.
So, that was the biggest surprise for me, for sure.
There were a lot of surprises in that movie.
Yeah, man.
True enough. Well, I think I gotta, once again, pass the role over here to Nico. What's next?
So, we've got one of the, I think, strengths of this podcast is that even though we've got some really salient conversations about themes and symbols and characterization and plot lines, sometimes there can be just some truly wild, dumb shit that happens. And so this is the award for wildest movie. And the sound that we're going to give for wildest movie is this.
All right, nice harmonics then. Okay.
Thank you. Okay. So, my wildest movie, you might have guessed, was in fact Halloween 3 Season of the Witch. If you know the old saying, if you put an infinite amount of monkeys in a room somewhere, eventually one of them will write Hamlet, assuming they don't all just fucking murder each other. If you put infinity to the power of infinity amounts of monkeys in a room, and they are all sapient, intelligent beings with the average, say, reading level of the whole world, not just counting America, but the whole world. So probably a little better than what we're expecting. If there were 1 million+ writers, I wouldn't have been able to reasonably expect half of the shit that happens in this movie. Like, in no way is this related to the rest of the series, which is fine. Anthologies are cool, but, like, I still struggle to realize that isn't just a big fever dream. Truly the most insane thing I've watched in a long time.
Yeah. And I'm going to say this too. My wildest movie, Nico has once again stolen my thunder, but not 100% this time.
Okay.
My wildest movie was Wicked City because I watched this with my mom's. An opening scene.
Of course you did.
Yeah, fucking course.
Is just pro tag over here. He's like hooking up with this chick at a bar and he takes her back home. Psych, she's a spider, Jormungand woman. And I'm like, oh, what?
Jormungand? One more time?
Don't worry about it.
Jormungander?
Don't listen. I forget the word, but the point being is,
okay,
like, she's turned into a spider, but they still smashing though.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yo. And then he then goes on to like have sex with like the lead chick in a church because they're meant to. And I don't know, man. This movie's nuts. This movie's wild. There's some wild boy scenes in this. The bodyguard runs away and he goes to a soap land and then he gets like absorbed into a woman's tits. It's a clit monster. Yeah. This is just
but
wild.
Not like in From Beyond.
No.
Yeah, for me, this one was really tough because we had some real wild movies. And I'm going to give this one to probably the horniest of all movies that we watched. Maybe Wicked City might be one of them too. But I'm going to give this to Life Force.
Bro, I knew
Oh, man.
The space horny vampires, I don't know, man. There was some wild stuff in that movie. And I was just along for the ride. And it was definitely entertaining. But what the fuck?
Well, that wraps up our wildest movie. And to take it to a completely different, yet entirely similar place, let's go to Dan.
So our next award here is the movie that scared you the most this year. For me, I actually didn't think we had very many scary movies this year. Like,
yeah,
listeners who've been around a while will know that haunting movies scare the shit out of me, like The Conjuring. We didn't really have anything like that this year. But so this one was a little tough for me, but my award goes to Longlegs. This one is not necessarily straight up horror. We did talk about that, horror thriller, something like that. But this one to me was the closest to reality, I think. And sort of that serial killer, Criminal Minds, Law and Order kind of episode type of thing. And I thought because it was so realistic, it was the scariest to me. What about you, Justin? Oh, wait, I forgot the noise. The sound for this award has to be,
All right, Dan. Yeah. So I think the movie that scared me the most this year, and I'm in a similar boat to you. I really had to think about this one. Probably Prince of Darkness. It's one of those things where I love the atmosphere in Prince of Darkness. Apocalyptic things are what really get me going. And it was cool. I love the feeling. I love the vibe. And shit, man. What if Jesus was like an ancient alien mathematician who was just out here fighting the truth, bro?
I forgot about that part, and that could very well be a run-out for a bigger surprise, too.
So that's it for me.
I am a little sad to say that now I'm the one who's been bamboozled because the movie that scared me the most was also Longlegs. I am a big fan of psychological horror, and in particular, seeing this one in theaters really got me. The amount of dread that I was feeling and anxiety for Lee Harker was through the fucking roof at the end. And just for the record, Lee Harker was like right in second place for my favorite protagonist. But just I remember calling Justin afterwards and just sort of ranting and raving about I haven't felt that kind of tension in a movie in a really fucking long time, and that one did it for me.
So that wraps it up for the movie that scared us the most. And now we're entering a special segment of our award show that is going to be very personal to our hosts and presenters here. I will let Justin explain further.
Indeed. So we're going to take a quick pause on the movie awards. There's still more to come, but we're going to give ourselves here superlatives. So what that means is Nico and I collaborated, for example, on a superlative for Dan, most likely to X or Y or Z. And Dan and Nico collabed on mine, and naturally me and Dan collabed on Nico's. I'm presenting Dan's. Dan, the sound effect that I think best goes with your superlative is...
I agree.
Okay. Understood. Say less.
You'll understand it because, Dan, we think you are most likely to decipher the truth. Now, dear listener, Dan is that guy where when we all get together, sometimes we play maybe a game or something or a board game. Dan's that guy who's like, yo, pass me the rulebook right fast. And then about 5 minutes down the line, Dan's going to be like, not that this is a problem or anything, but we've just been playing this game wrong the whole time.
For like 5 years.
Yeah. This has happened multiple times.
And I do a lot of trolling. I've known Dan for a long time. Dan's one of the few folks who this guy always sees right through all my trolling despite my best efforts. It's very difficult to hoodwink Dan. And he makes a good foil for me in that regard. But I also think in a horror movie, Dan would be that guy where, if it was like some Scooby-Doo type shit, we'd all be running away from ghosts. And Dan's that
Dan would
guy
be the one out of the three of us, I think you are most likely to live on any average horror movie.
Interesting.
Yeah. And Dan's that guy who would say, wait, guys, I don't think this is a ghost. I did some reading, and I think Farmer Jenkins is trying to scare us off the land because there's actually gold hidden here that he's trying to get. So maybe we should just fuck him up.
He doesn't want these damn illegals to take our germs.
All that. So, Nico, anything to add on Dan's superlative there, or you think we covered it?
Yeah, you really covered it. I also think that you're able to cut through a lot of the bullshit sometimes in real life and also on the pod. Like, you are capable of ascertaining the reality of what Justin is so archaically obfuscating through no rhyme or reason and multiple double truths and mistruths and a few fables every now and then. So yeah, you're good at zeroing it on things.
A lot of subterfuge and skullduggery.
Absolutely.
All
Absolutely.
that. But now I'm going to pass it off to Nico. Whose superlative you got, Nico?
So, Dan and I have collaborated on what superlative to give to you, and there were a few real good ones, but this is one that we kept coming back to, and it is most likely to stumble into some actual horror/horrible or horrific shenanigans. Because, there have been multiple times where you have either mentioned some really insane shit that you've done in your real life or have said some incredibly out-of-pocket things. For example, you would be the one most likely to sleep with a succubus or, say, get a charge for indecent exposure at a graveyard out of the three of us.
Wow. I'm so proud.
The amount of times that I've been talking to Justin on the phone, and he'll be like, yeah, I'm walking around my neighborhood, and I just walked past a giant pentagram. What are you doing? Dude, get the fuck out of there. So yeah, definitely you would kickstart the horror movie that the three of us star.
Yeah.
Fair.
Oh, I better not bump into this old tome of mysteries and devils. Ah, gosh.
Fair.
Yep. Well, the superlative that I am announcing, if nobody has figured this out yet, is Nico's.
Indeed.
I'm worried.
So, Justin, I actually want to pass.
Oh, fuck. Justin's superlative noise is,
Okay. There's a lot of trolling involved in that sound.
Yeah.
Related to that sound. So, Justin, I actually want you to do Nico's superlative noise.
I'm more worried now.
I know, that's why.
Okay. So there's really only one thing I can think of for that. And that's
Yes, I was hoping you would do that one.
God fucking damn it.
Thank you.
There's a reason for that, though.
So, Nico, we think I actually disagree with something you said a minute ago.
Me too.
Oh,
Justin
okay.
and I actually think that you are the most likely to survive in a horror movie.
What?
Because for a couple of reasons. One, you have a very strong sense of self-preservation.
Mm-hmm.
You are likely
That's a good way to say it.
either just kick the doll, the evil haunted doll, or just run the fuck away, or, just sleep through the whole horrific thing that's going on. And you'll probably just wake up and be like, oh, what happened? Where'd everybody go? I'm going to Starbucks to get some coffee. And that would be it.
I also remember that we had a couple What Would You Do's, and there's one where me and Dan are squaring off against a serial killer, and you're just like, I'm just going to sit this one out. Like, you guys got that. You guys got that.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then there's another one where we talked about making a sacrifice to save the world. And, I said I would, and Dan made a really noble and valiant speech, and Nico was just like, nah. Everyone's getting fucked here today. So I don't know about that one, but that's why we picked.
That's fair.
So the next award is something that only one person can present. Justin, what is our next award?
You're not wrong. Our next award is, well, it happens a lot on the podcast.
Yeah.
But it is the most out-of-pocket moment on the podcast. And this is going to be an interesting sound effect, but it's going to be...
Oh, no.
Yellow card. Yellow card.
Okay.
Okay.
Acceptable.
Yeah.
Because we stay giving each other yellow cards over this shit. Now, mine comes again from Dagon, the video game. Because in our synopsis of Dagon...
Oh, God.
A mound is described.
Oh, yeah.
And for whatever reason, we just can't get over the fact that while I wrote plain, non-suggestive sentences, for a solid about 3 to 5 minutes, we just can't stop making dirty jokes that are just normal lines. The mound was so deep and dark.
One of the hardest synopses to ever get through.
Yeah.
Pause.
The moonlight could not penetrate it. And then Nico was like, yeah, and then he gets down to the bottom of the mound and it was wet because there's water down there. And then, of course, Dan and I had to chime in with the sound effects.
Nope.
And that's exactly what Nico did in the episode. That was an out-of-pocket session. I can't believe we did that. So yeah, that's it for me. But Nico, counter. What's your most
counter
out-of-pocket?
is one that as soon as I heard it, I happened to press play on a random episode. And this is where, when I was scrolling through, you just said something that was immaculate. And it is our episode on Sharktopus, where you said, Justin, that the U.S. government has already funded someone to give dolphins blowjobs.
Yeah, that happened.
Still out of pocket.
Also, they didn't themselves administer it. I'm pretty sure they used, tools.
No, the researcher did it.
Press X to doubt my fucking guy.
Dear listener, stay tuned after the podcast for a further in-deep discussion on this.
Not on that. Nope.
Well, my most out-of-pocket moment actually comes from yours truly. I remember, I don't really remember the whole circumstance, but it was on the episode of The Chair. And it's where we came to get our title from. That's why they call it Company.
Oh no.
And I just remember there was a very sexual reference in there. And I kind of don't remember all of it. So kind of maybe a lame one here. But it was pretty fucking funny, if I do say so myself.
I think that wraps up the out-of-pocket moments. But Nico, I think we're starting to get into the big boy territories here, right?
Yup. So I am going to abandon the pomp and circumstance and get straight to it. This is our award for favorite podcast episode, and there were a lot of good ones here, if I do say so myself. And the noise for this one is, hell yeah, brother!
Okay, also
Had to be.
acceptable.
Had to be.
My favorite, this was another really difficult one, but my favorite podcast episode was our review of the remake of Suspiria. I think solely for the amount of times that we managed to see Tilda Swinton talking to Tilda Swinton or doing something else with Tilda Swinton also in the room.
Yeah.
And there was a solid 5-minute stretch where we all just fully lost our fucking marbles. That, and it is one of, I think, my favorites that we've seen. So it was a good time.
Indeed. For me, my favorite podcast episode that we did this year was our review of Pacify. And the reason why I say that, dear listener, is there's a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes when we do these episodes, not just the editing, but also actively watching the movie and kind of discussing things amongst ourselves a little bit. For this one, we all kind of sat down with Bonner, who I can't believe we haven't mentioned him yet, but we all sat down and we played Pacify. And to me, that was kind of the root origin almost of DOTD, where it was like us just doing horror shit with our bros. And that kind of culminated into this. And I remember when we were playing the game to refresh ourselves for the episode, we were kind of losing against the first level boss. And then all of a sudden, this one dude just showed up, this random person.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, man.
Loser. And he just came in.
That was his name. We're not just saying this guy sucks. That was his actual in-game name, Loser.
And you got to understand, dear listener, Pacify has been out for a long time. There's not that many people playing it. And I mean, he just jumped right into our group. No mic, no chat. Within about 30 seconds, understood what was going on.
Yeah.
Understood our strategy.
And then at the very end, man's even joined into a victory dance. Do you understand the intuition that person has? That was a genius, okay?
Yeah.
That person was on the other end. He just finished writing a dissertation or a master's level thesis.
He said, fuck Mensa, I'm a get rid of some ghosts.
Yeah, real talk. So all of that, and plus just playing games with my friends and having just a fun episode in general. That was my favorite podcast episode.
So my favorite podcast episode is a bit of a cop-out, and I'll understand if y'all throw up the X on this, but it's this one, actually.
Oh, I was going to do that!
Because I think Nico came up with the idea maybe a month or two ago, maybe.
Yeah.
And then we started planning this episode a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And even just planning the episode and coming up with the ideas for the awards and everything was so much fun, and just figuring this out. And I think all three of us were super hype by the time we were done planning it.
Yeah.
And then going through to figure out what my awards were going to be, as a trip down memory lane and thinking oh man, I forgot that we watched this one. Oh, that's really cool. And especially the out of pocket moments and wildest movies and everything. I had a blast just thinking about and remembering what happened and reminiscing, if you will. Mm-hmm. And then, being able to do an end of year award show co-presented with my homies on the podcast, I think it was really cool. It's also very different than things we've done before. Yeah. So I just think it's been a lot of fun doing this particular episode.
Indeed. It's a big people ting.
Do you have a favorite review?
Favorite review? Not necessarily. I think the last 3 episodes actually have been my favorites. The last 3 we've done, I thought, have been all very strong and a lot of fun to review. I can't really choose between one of the 3, but all 3 of them have been great.
Mm-hmm.
Despite sometimes the movie not being so great.
Real.
Fair.
And that takes it for our favorite podcast episode. We're going to shoot over to Dan here. What do you got for us?
Well, most horror movies, almost all, have lots of killing, or at least some killing in it. Killing is an
Yeah.
important part of horror movies, I think. And we're going to talk our kill of the year. This is a big one. So for me, it was actually kind of hard to decide my kill of the year. And I was actually pretty shocked at my answer as I was going through the movies. One kill in particular stood out, and I could not believe it. It is the Jester. When the Jester
which one?
is in, I think he's in a convenience store.
Oh,
And
yeah.
he puts his hat on somebody and then like
Oh, that
spins
one
the
was
hat
really good.
and pulls the hat off and the guy's head is just gone. That whole sequence was a lot of fun. It was really creative, really, really cool. And it just really stood out to me. And it's been a while since we've watched
Been
that
a
movie,
while.
too. That's right. And I forgot to say the sound of favorite or of kill of the year is blah, blah.
No,
Great.
no. How dare you? That's the Donkey Kong sound.
Yep.
Yep. My kill of the year. There were a few that were really uncomfortable to watch, but the one that I keep coming back to isn't a scary one, but a ridiculous one. We see a lot of violent stuff here, reviewing stuff for y'all. We see a lot of really gory things. We see a lot of great use of practical effects and CGI where it's merited. But the kill of the year for me has got to go to the sneak attack remote control Kamehameha wave in Halloween 3.
Okay. Yeah, that was a good one. That
Like-
same one got my award earlier, so yeah.
Like the fact that we go from two films of, I would argue for the most part, pretty grounded, regular murder to is just fucking insane.
Yep.
Yeah, that's fair. And my personal kill of the year comes from Dagon, the movie.
Wow.
So
wow.
in the
Oh.
movie,
Wow.
there's this old drunk, and he gets
Ooh,
captured,
ugh.
and then they tie this poor bastard up, and he's sitting there like reciting, like prayers and stuff, and they chop off his fucking face. Like they
No Nick Cage
skin
stuff.
him, bro.
Yeah.
That was brutal. And no one else in the movie got it that bad.
Nope.
Like
Fuck that one guy in particular.
everything else was chill. And then this guy just gets his face ripped off. And I'm like, yo.
Yeah.
So that plus, of course, I got a soft spot for Dagon being a, cosmic horror kind of movie. Although, according to some, check the review for more information, maybe not as cosmic as I thought.
So we're getting into our final awards here. So I'm going to
Yes.
pass it to Justin.
So this is going to be one of two awards. And these are the big ones, This is Album of the Year if you're at the Grammys. Kinda. I'm going to present the award for Favorite Indie Film. And the award for that, I would have to say is, wow.
That's
Because
the award?
Wow.
that's the sound for the award.
Okay.
And for me, my favorite indie film that we reviewed this year is the animated film Beacon. I thought this was a great short film. Very, very, very inspired. There's an atmosphere that's just so foreboding. It's cold. You're on a stranded on a planet with these things and you don't know. And there's things that are shown and things that are not shown. And we always want to big up on this podcast indie projects when we can. And this is something that I can wholeheartedly recommend, that this is something to check out. It's free as well on YouTube. So there's no reason why you shouldn't. And I just think the monsters, the plot, everything is just great. So it's Beacon for me. How about you, Nico?
My award is going to go to The Pine Creepers from Don't Walk Home Alone After Dark. It's got a real grounded sort of sense of storytelling and world building, and it's all very contained in a lovely animated style that is reminiscent of Steven Universe at times, while being very true to its own sort of ideals and others. And it's got a great narrative wrapped in some really chilling imagery.
Mm-hmm. Dan?
This one was really, really hard for me. I think we've seen a lot of really phenomenal indie horrors, and I have like 5 or 6 that I really want to nominate. But to me, the one, and I don't think this got the highest score for me when we reviewed it.
Yeah.
But my indie movie of the year was The Last Dream of Detective Coleman.
Mm-hmm.
That is a short film by brothers Paul Austin Bailey and Philip W. Bailey, and they are kind of adding to the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise. And I think they had like 0 budget. And you can tell they have 0 budget, but the heart was there. And it was a really good telling of what the, I think it was the officer who captures Freddy Krueger, what happened there. And there's a really cool scene near the end, sort of like a dreamlike sequence kind of thing that really stole the show for me. And again, at the end of the day, production value and everything aside, the film had heart. And I think that's what's most important. So I'm going to give it to those 2.
Nice. Well, here we are. We have climbed the mountain. We've tackled a number of categories here, but we're at the summit. Nico, what's the last category?
Our last category is the one you've been waiting for the most, our favorite movie. And for that, I am going to play for you my favorite chord, or one of them. It's my favorite chord right now.
Pretty.
It's like a D add 9 kind of thing.
Saddest of all keys.
Yeah, absolutely. My favorite movie that we saw this year was Possessor. I saw it during a moment of like personal strife, I guess you could say. I was going through it kind of, and this was one of the few experiences that I had this year where I was really well and truly just taken out of the world that we live in and into something somewhere else. It is normally very difficult for me to suspend my sense of disbelief in these reviews that we do, but I was just completely enwrapped in everything that this movie had to offer.
Nice. My personal favorite movie of the year, believe it or not, was an indie joint. And for me, it's going to be The Chair. And this was just a great short film. It's from a comedy channel, but they tackle it so well. And I mean, I've actually gone back and watched it again. And it's one of those things where if I try to describe it right now in the little time I have, I'll do it in injustice, because to me, it's got such amazing framing. The sound's on point. The acting is on point. The characters are on point. And I said it on the episode, but to me, it's rare to get that level of precision, even from a big budget production, much less a small one. But this is one that, to me, didn't even need to be under the quote unquote indie category, where it's like, oh, well, we'll give it a little bit more, big it up because it's indie, which we like to do, but didn't need it. This stood on its own. This was big on its own, for me at least. So for me, it's The Chair.
For me, my movie of the year, this also was very difficult for me. We saw some fantastic films.
Yeah.
But I think mine was Glorious, actually.
Ooh, really?
Yes. And
that was close.
I surprised myself with this one, too. I think Glorious is a ridiculous concept. Absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah.
But it tackles some really difficult themes and deep themes as well. And it's, I think, visually pleasing. It's also, I believe, an indie film. So it doesn't have a mega budget or anything, but it does well with what they have. And honestly, it's a film that I haven't stopped talking about and recommending to people that I work with and other friends and people like that. And it's one of those where like, oh, hey, you should really watch Glorious. It's about this evil god in a glory hole. And it's like, what? Like, what? And I'm like, no, for real, it's a good movie. Like, it's actually a good movie, you know? And since we watched it, like I said, I haven't stopped really talking about it. And I think that says something.
It's good in spite of its premise.
Right.
I'll have you know that was my runner-up.
Oh yeah, I'll have you know that the chair was my runner-up actually. So I'm almost glad we actually swapped there. But yes, Glorious gets it for me.
My runner-up, I think, was Prometheus. But that's about man. It's about it, huh?
Yeah. It's been quite a year.
Yeah,
we want to thank you. Yeah, we want to thank you for rocking with us this year. We hope everyone, I mean, if you're listening to this, you have made it through 2024. I know some people, it's been a good year. Some people might have been not so good a year. But the important thing is you made it through. And here's to a great 2025 from us here at DOTD to you. You know, we hope nothing but the best for you guys. And, you know, my two co-hosts, obviously, nothing but the best for you guys as well. But, dear listener, in true DOTD fashion, you got to let us know what you think. So whether it's the visuals, the audios, and tag, pro tag, surprise, what wild moments did we have on the podcast that we don't even remember? What was your movie of the year? All that. Hit us. We're on X and Instagram at DOTD Horror. We're also on Facebook. So don't open that door. Plus, catch everything we've ever done on our website, which is dotdhorror.com. But till next time, dear listener, definitely look out for one another. Can't stress that enough. Keep watching good horror movies, and maybe some bad ones too. But as always, dear listener, don't open that door. But we're not done. Oh, what? Ha! Ha! Bonus category. That's right. You knew we couldn't bow out just like that. I don't know what's going on here, but there's some shenanigans afoot. Nico and Dan, take it away.
So, about, I want to say, I don't remember how long ago it was exactly. I want to say like 6 months ago, maybe a little less than that.
I think we've been doing it for maybe 3.
3? Oh, okay.
Yeah, 3,
less
4,
than that? Okay.
4 maybe, I don't know.
Let's say 3 to 4. I came up with an evil idea to sort of gamify the experience of recording these episodes.
Okay.
And so, Justin,
yes,
for the last apparently 3 or 4 months now, Dan and I have every episode been playing Justin Bingo.
Is one of those categories Trini voice?
Yes.
Yes, that wasn't today's, but yes.
Okay.
So here's the next part. Dan, I don't know if you caught it, but well, let me pull it back real quick. Dan and I have been playing this a little differently. Each time we have an episode, I've been starting fresh. Dan has been like keeping it going. And there have been, I think, like 2 or 3 times where it was real fucking close and we almost got bingo. But Dan, I don't know if you caught it earlier, but I was setting up my board the way that you, with the categories that we've all cumulatively had. Mm-hmm. There was a moment when my eyes lit up and I was looking down. I shit you not, I have bingo.
Oh, wow. Okay, this is a Disney moment here.
This is a Disney. I'll send you both a picture to confirm.
Just show it to the screen. Yeah. Because we got to see.
What?
No, just hold it up to the screen. That's going to be better.
So there's the free space in the middle there, which is your face, Justin. You'll lovingly know. I have Trini voice comes out.
Okay.
Absurd animal noise.
Okay.
Works song lyrics into conversation. And Justin rant about movie and the free space.
Okay.
So I guess last episode I would have gotten bingo if I learned the rules of our own game.
That's okay. I came close. I've got 2 or 3 lines that are almost bingo. But just so you know, Justin, some of the other spaces would be
well, hold up. Can you guess any of them?
Oh,
I
yeah,
want to
yeah,
know what
yeah.
you think we would be playing and paying attention for.
we tried to come up with Justinisms.
Gosh, you already have a couple of the ones I was gonna throw out there. Is there one for like raging out, or is that just
Yeah, Justin rant.
Justin rant about movie.
okay? Is there one for like, I don't know, like just throwing out just like the weirdest, most randomest shit?
There's
one for that?
absurd animal noise.
Oh, okay, fair. No, I'm curious. I can't guess any of these, bro. I don't know this about myself.
Okay.
Should we go through all of them?
Let's go through all of them.
Okay,
Fuck it.
So we have fighting an animal.
Oh, I have, yes.
I don't think we actually got that one though.
No.
In the episode
Surprisingly.
since, right?
Okay,
Since we
okay.
started, not all of these we got, but
Yeah.
Justin rant about movie, saying one of these 3 phrases, either wodayas, modas, or cutlass. So that was today's.
Yup.
Gets mad about school rivalry with Dan.
Okay.
References song lyrics and conversation. Saying, quote, I love synths.
Yes.
Gaslights
Or I love
Nico.
me some synth.
Or, yeah. Gaslights Nico.
Oh, that's easy.
Yeah.
Purposely mispronounces a word.
All the time.
Has the complete opposite opinion of Nico. Which is all the
Let's check
time.
every episode.
Yep.
Talking about nut.
What?
Yeah, man.
Mentions ghost stories.
Yeah,
Says suspect shit.
that's one. Absolutely.
Yep.
There's also Trini voice comes out.
Of course.
Which we've covered.
Gets mad about prestige horror, which I'm surprised we didn't get. I don't think we did. At least I didn't.
Yeah, it's been a while. It's been a while.
Condom reference.
Of course.
Says we've reviewed something that we haven't.
I used to do that all the time back in the day, bro.
Yeah.
Saying, quote, for somebody who knows about that.
Yeah.
You've managed to skirt around that so closely. Like by one word difference almost each time.
Underwater philosophy.
Yeah.
Mention
real
you
one.
did this one today. Mentions watching a fucked up movie with your mom.
Yeah.
Absurd animal noise. Trinidad reference, so not your voice, but like referencing
Okay.
Trinidad.
Okay.
Starting with a Wild Boy intro. Starting a word with the letter B.
Yes.
And finally gives bad or potentially dangerous advice.
yeah, there's that too.
So I came pretty close. Pretty darn close. But
There was one night after review where we had like a good 2-hour planning session just working all this out.
And just so you know, hopefully you can see this on
I
screen.
can see it. I saw it
But-
when you go, bro, how do you have Justin fucking bingo?
So that's what when y'all came and visited, they finally did, by the way, dear listeners. When y'all came and visited and like I was cleaning some shit up and then, oh wait, hold on real quick. There were other little tokens of your face just like strewn about that I had to hurriedly move somewhere.
Bro, that's too fucking funny, bro.
Yep.
So that's in celebration of us, you, and this podcast. So hopefully you enjoyed that as much as we did, listener.
Yeah, it's been fun. It's been fun. I don't know if you've ever noticed us, like, I think this episode you did, but previous episodes, every once in a while we'd like look down or like scratch something off.
Yeah, true enough. Actually, the Trini voice thing, I noticed actually for Peek Behind the Curtain. I'm still furiously editing the episode to come out tomorrow morning, and
Real.
there's a part where I say something in a Trini voice, and Dan goes, "Does that count as Trini voice?"
Oh, yeah.
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 And I'm listening back to this, and I'm like, "How the fuck did he say that?" But this makes so much sense now. But yeah, well, dear listener, we hope you enjoyed a peek behind this. I think it cannot be overstated that me and Dan and Nico despite sometimes the wild shit that goes down on this podcast.
Yeah.
We have been extremely close friends for, at this point in time, believe it or not, the majority of my life.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And that's absolutely insane to think about.
It's like
The minimum
20
of
years or
mine,
so.
I'm actually
know,
in Eldritch
I
being
know.
beyond the sense
Yeah,
of
okay.
scale and time.
Okay.
True thing. But for real, dear
I am
listener,
who you see with your paralysis demon.
this is truly it. So from those of us here on DOTD, take care, for real. And as always, dear listener, don't open that door.